The great hall of Station Nexus Prime buzzed with fear. Representatives from across the galaxy sat in their floating chairs, their voices mixing into a chorus of panic. For 3 long years, the Void Swarm had been eating worlds, not just conquering them or taking resources, actually eating them. Every living thing, every plant, every microbe, all of it consumed and twisted into something horrible. Admiral Tejo stood at the center of the hall. His blue scales were pale with worry as he held the datapad with shaking hands. The numbers were bad, very bad. The Kepler defense line had fallen yesterday. 17 colonies were gone. Billions of people were dead or worse, turned into those twisted biomechanical things that served the swarm. The enemy moves faster than we predicted, Tejo said. His voice echoed in the huge chamber. Our combined fleets could not even slow them down. They swept through our defenses like they were nothing. Counselor Reyna floated above the others, her energy form flickering with distress. She had lived for 1,000 years and had never seen anything like this. How many ships did we lose at Kepler? She asked, though she already knew the answer would be terrible. All of them, Tejo replied. 3,000 ships from 5 different species. The Centaurians lost their entire 3rd fleet. The Zephyrians lost 2 battle groups. Even the mighty Corvin Empire's dreadnoughts were destroyed in minutes. Whispers filled the hall. The Corvin dreadnoughts were supposed to be unbeatable. Each one was the size of a small moon and armed with weapons that could crack planets. If the swarm could destroy them so easily, what hope did anyone have? The swarm reaches the core worlds in 48 hours, Tejo continued. Our intelligence suggests they have over 10,000 ships now. They grow stronger with every world they consume. A Altarian delegate stood up, his forearms waving in distress. What about the quantum cannon project? Can we not use it against them? The cannon requires 6 months to charge, Reyna answered. We do not have 6 months. We do not have 6 days. In the corner of the great hall, far from the main discussion area, sat a single human. Ambassador Do-hyun looked small compared to the other species. Humans were still new to the galactic community. Most species saw them as primitive warriors from a nothing planet in an empty corner of space. They had only achieved faster-than-light travel 5 years ago. The debate continued for hours. Some wanted to evacuate the core worlds and abandon everything beyond them. Others suggested surrendering and hoping the swarm would show mercy. A few brave voices called for a final stand, even though everyone knew it would be suicide. We have exhausted every option, Reyna said finally. Every weapon in our combined arsenals has failed. Our greatest military minds have found no solution. The vote is clear. We must evacuate the core worlds and retreat to the far rim. Perhaps in 100 years we can rebuild and find a way to fight back. That was when Do-hyun spoke for the first time all day. The human fleet can be here in 36 hours. The hall went quiet for a moment. Then someone laughed. Soon many were laughing. The idea was ridiculous. Humans had maybe 100 ships, all small and primitive. They used kinetic weapons and chemical rockets. How could they succeed where the great powers had failed? Honored Ambassador, said the Corvin representative, trying to be polite. We appreciate humanity's offer, but your species lacks the military might needed for this threat. Perhaps you could assist with the evacuation instead. Do-hyun stood up slowly. He was not tall or impressive like the other delegates. He wore a simple black uniform with no decorations. But something in his eyes made the laughter stop. You have been fighting the Void Swarm for 3 years. In that time, how many battles have you won? That is not the point, Tejo said. The swarm is unlike anything we have ever faced. They adapt to our weapons, learn from our tactics. They seem to know what we will do before we do it. Yes, Do-hyun said quietly. They have been watching you fight, learning from you. But they have not been watching us, because humans have not been fighting them, Reyna pointed out. Your species has been hiding behind our defensive lines. We have been preparing, Do-hyun replied. While you fought battles you could not win, we studied every engagement. We analyzed every tactic the swarm used. We learned from your failures. The Zephyrian delegate made a sound like grinding metal. In his species, it was laughter. You learned from our failures? What could primitives like humans possibly teach advanced species like ours? Do-hyun's expression did not change. You want to know what humans can teach you? We can teach you what it means to face extinction and survive. Earth has had 5 great extinction events. Each time, life found a way. Humans evolved on a world where everything tried to kill us. Other predators, diseases, natural disasters, even the weather. We learned to be better killers than anything that wanted to kill us. Your world's history is irrelevant, the Corvin said. This is space warfare, not jungle hunting. Is it? Do-hyun asked. Because from what I see, the Void Swarm is just another predator. A very big one, yes, but still just a predator. And humans know how to deal with predators. Admiral Taeho shook his head. Ambassador, I respect your courage. But courage alone will not win this war. The swarm has weapons that can destroy entire fleets in minutes. They have numbers beyond counting. They have technology we do not understand. They have advantages, Do-hyun agreed. But they also have weaknesses. Every predator does. The problem is that you have been trying to fight them like civilized beings. You use rules of war, honor codes, protective tactics. You fight to minimize casualties and preserve your ships. Of course we do, Reyna said. We are not barbarians, Do-hyun nodded. That is why you are losing. The Void Swarm does not follow rules. They do not care about honor. They exist only to consume. To defeat a predator, you must become a better predator. The hall was silent now. No one laughed. There was something in the human's voice that made everyone listen. The human fleet will arrive in 36 hours. Do-hyun said again, we will end this war. But when it is over, do not ask us how we did it. Some knowledge is better left unlearned. He sat down and said nothing more. Around him, the greatest minds in the galaxy continued their debate, but now they glanced at the quiet human in the corner, wondering what secrets his primitive species might know about war. 5 years ago, Captain Boram commanded the exploration ship New Sol. It was humanity's first deep space mission beyond their home system. The ship was small and basic compared to other species' vessels, but it carried the hopes of an entire planet. They found the Centaurian science vessel Blue Harmony under attack by pirates near the Vega system. The pirates had surrounded the science ship with 6 heavily armed cruisers. They were demanding the Centaurians surrender their research data and cargo. Boram watched the situation on her screen. Her crew was young and untested. Most had never seen combat. But the Centaurian ship was sending distress calls and there were civilians aboard. Captain, said her weapons officer Minho, the pirates have us outnumbered 6-1. Their ships are bigger and better armed than ours. Are there any other ships in the area? Boram asked. No, ma'am. The nearest patrol is 4 hours away. The science vessel does not have that much time. Boram studied the tactical display. The smart move would be to call for help and wait. That was what any civilized species would do. But the pirates were already boarding the Centaurian ship. In 4 hours, everyone aboard would be dead or sold into slavery. All crew to battle stations, she ordered. We are going to help them. The attack began like nothing the pirates expected. The New Sol did not announce itself or demand surrender. It simply opened fire at maximum range with every weapon it had. The first pirate ship exploded before they even knew they were under attack. They are trying to run, Minho reported as the remaining pirates scattered. Should we let them go? No, Boram said. We will hunt down every single one. What followed was not a battle. It was an execution. The New Sol chased the pirates across 3 star systems. Boram's crew worked in shifts, never stopping, never resting. They tracked each pirate ship to its hiding place and destroyed it. When pirates tried to surrender, the humans disabled their ships and took them prisoner. When pirates tried to fight, the humans killed them. The last pirate captain sent a message before his ship was destroyed. You are insane. We surrender. The fight is over. Minho looked at his captain with confusion. He is right, Captain. Why are we still hunting them? Because they attacked innocent people, Boram replied. As long as they exist, they remain a threat to other innocents. Threats must be eliminated completely. When the Centaurian authorities arrived, they found 6 destroyed pirate ships and the rescued science vessel. But they also found something that disturbed them. The humans had not just defeated the pirates. They had systematically hunted down every member of the pirate organization. They had tracked down the pirates' base, their supply ships, their information networks, everything. Why did you not stop when the immediate threat was gone? Asked the Centaurian commander. Boram looked confused by the question. Because the threat was not gone. It was only moved somewhere else. That incident was humanity's first real contact with galactic civilization. The Centaurians were grateful but worried. They shared their concerns with other species. Soon everyone knew about the humans and their strange approach to warfare. Back on Earth, Fleet Admiral Su-jin read the reports from across human space. In the 5 years since first contact, humanity had been involved in dozens of conflicts. Pirates, raiders, slavers, all had learned to avoid human space. Not because humans were stronger, but because they were thorough. Other species fought battles. Humans fought wars. Other species aimed to win. Humans aimed to eliminate threats permanently. Sujin studied the intelligence reports about the Void Swarm. For 3 years, her analysts had watched every battle. They recorded every tactic the swarm used. They noted every weakness in the galactic fleets. They learned from every failure. The other species fight like they are playing a game, she told General Yi-jun during their daily briefing. They follow rules that the swarm does not understand or care about. Yi-jun nodded. He had been building humanity's war machine since first contact. While other species focused on exploration and trade, humans had focused on preparing for the worst. The swarm is not evil, he said. Evil requires choice. The swarm simply exists to consume. You cannot negotiate with hunger. But you can satisfy it, Sujin replied. Or you can eliminate it. The human fleet was unlike anything in galactic space. Every ship was built for war. Not defense, not exploration, not showing off. War. They were dark, silent, and equipped with weapons that no other species had ever seen. Human ships did not use bright colors or broadcast their identity. They moved through space like shadows, invisible until they chose to strike. While other species built their fleets to look impressive, humans built theirs to be deadly. The weapons were different too. Other species used energy weapons, lasers, plasma cannons, particle beams. These could be blocked by shields or absorbed by armor. Humans preferred kinetic weapons, railguns that fired metal slugs at incredible speeds. These could punch through any known shield or armor, but the real difference was not in the ships or weapons. It was in the crews. Human military training was brutal by galactic standards. Soldiers were taught to fight in any environment against any enemy. They learned to think like their opponents, to predict their moves, to find their weaknesses. Most importantly, they were taught to finish what they started. Other species fought until the enemy retreated or surrendered. Humans fought until the threat was eliminated permanently. General Yi-jun activated the war protocols as soon as Ambassador Do-hyun's message arrived. Across human space, over 2,000 ships began moving toward the war zone. The largest fleet in galactic history was about to enter combat. But unlike other species' fleets, this one moved in complete silence. No broadcasts, no announcements, no grand speeches. They simply moved toward their target like a pack of predators stalking prey. Sujin stood on the bridge of the command ship, watching the fleet assemble. "Send a message to all ship captains," she ordered. "Rules of engagement are simple. The Void Swarm is a threat to all intelligent life. Threats must be eliminated. Show no mercy, take no prisoners, leave nothing alive." The response came back from every ship in seconds. "Understood, Admiral. No mercy." The human fleet arrived exactly when Ambassador Do-hyun had promised. 34 hours after his offer to the Galactic Council, over 2,000 ships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Ide. Warzone. Admiral Jae-won stood on the bridge of the flagship Incheon's Fury. The massive vessel was larger than anything the other species had ever built. It moved through space without lights, without broadcasts, like a predator in the dark. Around it, the rest of the human fleet took positions with military precision. Captain Nari commanded the destroyer Busan Runner. She had fought pirates and raiders for 3 years, but she had never seen anything like this. Her sensors showed energy readings that made no sense. The human ships were powered by something far beyond anything in galactic technology. "Ma'am," her science officer reported, "I am reading gravity distortions around the human vessels. They appear to be manipulating space-time itself." Nari nodded. Humans had always been different. While other species had spent centuries perfecting energy weapons and shield technology, humans had gone in a completely different direction. They had mastered the fundamental forces of the universe itself. Communications. Officer Dongmin intercepted panicked transmissions from refugee ships fleeing the Void Swarm. The messages were all the same. The swarm had broken through the Kepler Nebula and was heading directly for the core worlds. Estimated contact time was 6 hours. The remnants of the galactic fleet watched the humans with growing confusion. Admiral Taeho tried to contact Admiral Jae-won to coordinate their defense plans. The response was polite but firm. "We appreciate your offer of cooperation," Commander Hyun-woo replied from the battlecruiser Daegu's Wrath. "However, we will handle this situation independently. We recommend all Allied vessels maintain a safe distance of 50,000 kilometers. Safe distance? Tejo asked. What kind of weapons are you planning to use? Effective ones, was the only reply. The human fleet arrangement made no tactical sense to the other species. They were not forming defensive lines or protective formations. Instead, they spread out in a loose net that seemed designed more for hunting than fighting. Each ship maintained perfect spacing from the others like wolves surrounding prey. Their formation is all wrong, muttered a Corvan tactical officer. They are leaving huge gaps that the swarm can exploit. They will be surrounded and destroyed. But the humans seemed calm, almost eager. Crews moved through their ships with quiet efficiency, checking weapons and systems. There was no panic, no fear, only cold determination. Weapons officer So Young aboard the flagship ran final systems checks on humanity's secret weapons. For 5 years, human scientists and engineers had been developing technology specifically designed to counter the Void Swarm. They had studied every battle, analyzed every swarm tactic, identified every weakness. The other species had tried to fight the swarm with conventional weapons. Energy weapons that the swarm could absorb, missiles that the swarm could intercept, shield technology that the swarm had already learned to bypass. Humans had taken a different approach. They had weaponized physics itself, quantum disruptors that could tear apart molecular bonds, gravity bombs that created miniature black holes, kinetic weapons that fired projectiles at significant fractions of light speed. And those were just the conventional weapons. Admiral, So Young reported, all systems are green. The fleet is ready for combat. Jaewon nodded. Around him, his bridge crew worked with calm professionalism. These were veterans of humanity's expansion into space. They had fought pirates, raiders, and worse. But today would be different. Today they would face an enemy that threatened all intelligent life in the galaxy. Signal from long-range sensors, the navigation officer announced. Massive hyperspace disturbance detected. The Void Swarm is arriving. Space twisted and tore as thousands of biomechanical monstrosities dropped out of hyperspace. Each swarm vessel was the size of a small city, covered in twisted organic armor that pulsed with sickly light. They moved through space like living things, writhing and flowing in formations that hurt to look at. The Galactic Fleet commanders stared at their screens in horror. There were so many swarm ships that they blotted out the stars. Over 10,000 vessels, each one a nightmare of organic and mechanical fusion. The largest was over 50 kilometers long, a living mountain of teeth and weapons. How are we supposed to fight that? Whispered a Zephyrian captain. But the humans remained calm. If anything, they seemed pleased. Admiral Jaewon studied the tactical display with the expression of a chess master, seeing his opponent's opening move. Interesting, he said quietly. They have brought more ships than expected, but they are using the same formation as the Battle of Kepler. They have learned nothing new. Should we adjust our strategy? Asked his tactical officer. No, Jaewon replied. The strategy remains unchanged. We will end this quickly. The Void Swarm began its approach with the confidence of predators who had never met their match. They had consumed entire worlds, destroyed fleets, turned billions of living beings into twisted servants. These few thousand ships would be just another meal. But something was different this time. The defending fleet was not running or forming defensive positions. Instead, the human ships were accelerating directly toward the swarm at speeds that should have been impossible. Fighter pilot Jin A led Squadron Soul's Lightning in the first wave. Her small craft moved faster than most species' battlecruisers, dancing through space with impossible grace. Behind her, the main fleet followed like a tsunami of death. All ships, Admiral Jaewon announced over the fleet communication system. Remember what we are fighting for. Every world the swarm has consumed, every life they have taken, every innocent they have twisted into their service. Today we end their hunger permanently. The human fleet weapons powered up, filling space with energies that the other species had never seen before. This was not going to be a battle. It was going to be an execution. Weapons free, Jaewon ordered. Show them what humanity learned from 10,000 years of warfare. The Void Swarm opened fire first, just as they had in every previous battle. Thousands of bioplasma cannons erupted in a wave of destruction that had shattered fleets across the galaxy. The deadly green energy streaked across space toward the human ships. The Galactic Fleet commanders watched their screens in horror, expecting to see the human vessels destroyed in the opening salvo. The combined firepower of 10,000 swarm ships had never failed to overwhelm any defense. But something impossible happened. The human ships did not even raise shields. Instead, they accelerated directly into the plasma barrage at speeds that violated every known law of physics. The deadly energy weapons that had destroyed dreadnoughts and battle stations simply passed harmlessly around the human vessels, bent away by invisible forces. "What is that?" Admiral Tejo whispered, watching from his command ship 50,000 kilometers away. Captain Nari checked her sensors again and again, unable to believe the readings. "They are manipulating gravity itself," she reported. "The plasma is being deflected by localized space-time distortions." The human fleet reached impossible speeds, crossing the distance to the swarm in minutes instead of hours. Fighter pilot Jin-A led the first wave, her small craft moving faster than light itself through localized space-time bubbles. Behind her, the main human fleet followed like a pack of predators closing in for the kill. The Void Swarm tried to adjust, firing again with weapons that could crack planets. But the humans were no longer where the targeting systems said they should be. They moved through space like ghosts, appearing and disappearing, striking from impossible angles. Admiral Jawan gave the order that would echo through galactic history. "All ships, weapons free. Show them what humanity learned from 1,000 years of warfare." The human fleet unleashed hell. Quantum disruptors fired first, weapons that no other species had ever imagined possible. The beams struck swarm vessels and simply dissolved them, tearing apart the molecular bonds that held their biomechanical bodies together. Entire ships the size of cities crumbled into cosmic dust in seconds. Gravity bombs followed, creating miniature black holes that consumed everything within a 1,000-kilometer radius. Swarm formations that had been advancing in perfect order suddenly found themselves being pulled into points of infinite density, stretched and torn apart by forces beyond comprehension. But the most devastating weapons were the kinetic railguns. These fired projectiles at significant fractions of light speed, metal slugs that hit with the force of nuclear weapons. The swarm's organic armor, which had withstood every energy weapon in the galaxy, might as well have been paper. The destruction was systematic and complete. Every human ship moved in perfect coordination, like a single organism with 2,000 bodies. Tactical Coordinator Myung processed battle data through quantum-encrypted networks faster than any organic mind could think. "Target the command vessels," she ordered. "Cut off their coordination." The largest swarm ships tried to retreat to the center of their formation, using smaller vessels as shields. But the humans had predicted this tactic. They had studied every battle the swarm had ever fought and knew exactly what they would do. Fighter squadrons led by Jin-A punched through the swarm's defensive lines like bullets through cloth. Her pilots flew with impossible precision, threading between enemy ships that were firing frantically in all directions. Every shot they fired found its target. Every target they hit was destroyed. "How are they moving like that?" a Centaurian observer asked, watching human fighters perform maneuvers that should have liquefied their pilots. "Inertial dampening," Captain Boram replied from her heavy cruiser Guangzhou's Hammer. "We have learned to control gravity and acceleration at the molecular level. Our pilots experienced no G-forces, no matter how extreme their maneuvers. The battle was not just one-sided. It was a massacre. Within 12 minutes, the swarm's entire front line had been destroyed. Ships that had consumed worlds were torn apart by weapons they could not understand or defend against. The swarm tried to adapt, as they had always done. They began to modify their vessels in real time, growing new armor, changing their formations. But they were adapting to weapons and tactics they had seen before. The humans were using completely new approaches to warfare. "They are trying to learn our patterns," reported Weapons Officer So Young. "Should we change tactics?" "No," Admiral J1 replied. "They cannot adapt to physics." The gravity bombs continued their work, creating vortexes of destruction that consumed everything nearby. The quantum disruptors tore apart matter itself. The railguns fired projectiles that moved too fast to intercept or avoid. Within 18 minutes, the swarm's command vessels were identified and destroyed. Without central coordination, the remaining ships began to act independently, making them even easier targets for the precisely coordinated human attack. The largest swarm vessel, a living mountain 50 kilometers long, tried to ram the human flagship. It accelerated to ramming speed, its massive bulk aimed directly at the Inchon's fury. Admiral Jawan watched it approach with calm interest. Interesting tactic, he observed. But predictable. The Incheon's fury did not move to avoid the collision. Instead, it fired a single gravity bomb directly into the swarm vessel's path. The miniature black hole consumed the massive ship completely, leaving only a brief flash of light where 50 kilometers of biomechanical horror had been. The remaining swarm ships tried to retreat, but retreat was impossible. The human fleet had surrounded them completely, moving through space with impossible speed and precision. Every attempt to escape was cut off by ships that seemed to appear from nowhere. Target remaining vessels, J1 ordered. Leave nothing alive. The final phase of the battle was more like pest control than warfare. Human ships methodically hunted down every remaining swarm vessel, no matter how small or how fast it tried to run. There would be no survivors to carry word of humanity's capabilities to other threats. Gunner Sang-ho aboard the destroyer Mokpo's Revenge fired the final shot of the battle. His railgun projectile struck the last swarm fighter at 97% of light speed, turning it into a brief flash of plasma. All targets eliminated, he reported. Admiral Jawan checked his chronometer. 27 minutes and 34 seconds from the first shot to the last. The Void Swarm, which had terrorized the galaxy for 3 years and consumed billions of lives, no longer existed. Absolute silence filled the communication channels. The Galactic Fleet commanders stared at their screens, unable to process what they had just witnessed. Where 10,000 swarm vessels had been, now only debris remained, slowly dispersing into the cosmic void. Not a single human ship had been damaged, not one casualty. The most powerful military force in galactic history had been eliminated without even scratching their paint. Impossible, Admiral Tejo whispered. This cannot be real. The battlefield was silent except for the soft pinging of debris hitting ship hulls. Admiral Tejo floated in his command chair, staring at the tactical display that showed nothing but empty space where the Void Swarm had been. His hands shook as he tried to process what he had witnessed. 10,000 ships. Gone. Not defeated, not retreated, not damaged. Completely eliminated in 27 minutes. Run the sensor sweep again, he ordered his bridge crew. Sir, we have run it 6 times, his sensor officer replied. The results are the same. No swarm vessels remain. No life signs. No energy signatures. They are all gone. Across the Galactic Fleet, similar scenes played out on every bridge. Commanders who had fought the swarm for 3 years, who had seen their fleets destroyed and their worlds consumed, could not believe their sensors. Counselor Reyna's energy form flickered with confusion and something that might have been fear. She contacted Ambassador Do-hyun directly through quantum communication. How is this possible? Do-hyun's response came from the observation deck of a human cruiser. He had watched the entire battle with the calm expression of someone who had known exactly what would happen. While you were fighting the Void Swarm, we were studying them. Every battle you lost taught us something new. You fought them as you would fight other galactic species. We fought them as humans. That explains nothing, Reyna said. Your weapons, your speed, your tactics, and none of it should be possible with known technology. Known to whom? Do-hyun asked. You have been in space for thousands of years, but you have been comfortable. You explored, you traded, you built beautiful cities on peaceful worlds. Humans have been in space for only 5 years, but we came from a world where everything tried to kill us. We learned to turn everything into a weapon. Captain Boram, now commanding the heavy cruiser Gwangju's Hammer, received a communication request from the Centaurian science vessel she had saved 5 years ago. The captain's blue scales were pale with shock. Captain Boram, he said, I must ask, what you just did, is this normal for humans? Boram considered the question seriously. Around her, her crew was already cleaning weapons and running post-battle diagnostics. To them, this had been just another day at work. You want to know what is normal for humans? We spent 10,000 years learning to kill everything on our planet that was bigger, stronger, and more dangerous than us. We made extinct the great predators, the disease, the hostile environment itself. The Void Swarm was just another predator. The political implications of what had happened were already becoming clear to the galactic leaders. Humanity was no longer a minor species to be ignored or patronized. They were clearly the dominant military power in known space. The question was what they would do with that power. They could conquer us all, whispered a Zephyrian commander to his bridge crew. We could not stop them if they decided to take our worlds. But the humans were already making their intentions clear. Fleet Admiral Sujin sent a message to all galactic governments from Earth. The Void Swarm has been eliminated. The threat to civilized space is over. Human ships will remain in the area until the debris field is cleared and the region is confirmed safe. Then we will return to human space. Admiral Tejo could not accept this. But surely you will want something in return? Territory? Resources? Trade agreements? We want what we have always wanted, Do-hyun replied. To be left alone to develop in peace. The swarm threatened that peace, so we eliminated them. The threat is gone, so our business here is finished. The galactic community struggled to understand this attitude. Every other species would have used such overwhelming military superiority to expand their territory or demand tribute. The humans seemed genuinely uninterested in conquest or empire building. Why? Counselor Reyna asked. You could rule the galaxy if you wanted. Rule it? Do-hyun seemed genuinely puzzled by the suggestion. Why would we want to rule it? Ruling other species would require us to understand their politics, their cultures, their problems. We have enough problems of our own. But there was a warning in his words that the more perceptive galactic leaders did not miss. Captain Nari was the first to understand the real message. You did not save us to rule us, she said slowly. You saved us because you believe innocent life should be protected. But what happens to those who prey on the innocent? Do-hyun's expression became very serious. The swarm learned what happens to species that threaten innocent life. We hope no one else needs to learn that lesson. The message was clear. Humanity had no interest in conquest or empire, but they had appointed themselves the guardians of civilized space. Pirates, raiders, slavers, and anyone else who preyed on the innocent could expect no mercy from human forces. Fleet Admiral Sujin addressed the Galactic Council one final time before the human fleet departed. We did not save you to rule you. We saved you because it was right. But let this be understood clearly. Humanity will defend innocent life wherever we find it. We will show no mercy to those who prey upon the weak. As the human fleet prepared to return to their own space, Ambassador Do-hyun left the council chambers with a final observation that would be remembered for generations. You wondered how we could defeat an enemy that consumed entire civilizations. The answer is simple. We are the species that survived by making everything else extinct. We killed the great predators of our world. We conquered disease, famine, and natural disasters. We turned a death world into a garden. He paused at the chamber door and looked back at the assembled representatives. The Void Swarm just learned what dinosaurs learned 65 million years ago. What saber-toothed tigers learned 10,000 years ago. What every plague and predator in our world's history learned eventually. What is that? Reyna asked. Never threaten a human's family, Do-hyun replied. Because we will not stop, we will not rest, and we will not show mercy until the threat is eliminated completely. The swarm thought the galaxy was their hunting ground. They were wrong. This is our neighborhood now, and we protect our neighbors. The human fleet jumped to hyperspace, leaving the galactic powers to contemplate their new reality. They were safe from the Void Swarm and any similar threats. But they were also living under the protection of a species that had just demonstrated they could eliminate any threat with casual ease. Some found this comforting. Others found it terrifying, but all agreed on one thing: the galaxy would never be the same. In the weeks that followed, pirate attacks dropped to nearly zero. Raiders abandoned their prey and fled to the darkest corners of space. Slavers released their captives and found new careers. Word spread quickly through the criminal underworld. Humans were watching, and humans did not forgive threats to innocent life. The age of the Void Swarm was over. The age of human protection had begun. And across the galaxy, parents tucked their children into bed with stories of the quiet guardians who watched over them from a small blue world, ensuring that the darkness would never consume the light of civilization again.